I'm out in my backyard. I wanted some trees like this for my layout. Okay, I gotta show you guys these trees. I got some trains running slow so I can talk, and I'm gonna try to do a little intro to these trees because I made these trees with a 3D pen. So in fact, all these trees here in the front I made with a 3D pen. I just got the 3D pen. I don't know how to use the 3D pen so well, but I was still able to make these trees. All these trees in this scene so far I made with a 3D pen. The Mynt3d printing pen comes with 3 ABS plastics, manual, and this is the pen. That lever there is for how fast the plastic comes out. You got plus and minus there to set the temperature, and that is the direction of the plastic, whether you're pushing it out or pulling it back if you're going to unload it. And it displays the temperature on the side. Everything is in Celsius, and everything's in metric for the 3D pen stuff. So I didn't know anything about this. I got some extra plastic because I wanted to have plastic to practice with. So I got this kilogram of PLA plastic, this 3D printer filament. That's what these 3D pens use, and tells you what the temperature is for your printer or your 3D pen. Also, it has it in the manual, so I went by what the manual said for it because I don't know anything about these. I jerry-rigged a little holder for my plastic that was just sitting on the table, and I would unloop it, but it was easier to have it on here, and it would just come off of the spool while I was 3D printing with my pen. So I started with a sketch of the tree I was going to do, and then put wax paper over top of it, and then it's just kind of tracing where the tree is. I just used a 3D printer pen to it's kind of like the same way of doing the wire armature trees, except I'm using plastic instead of wires. So by going just by tracing it like this, I'll lay down layers of plastic one next to the other. So really what I'm doing is I'm making half of the tree of the round shape of, or the cylinder shape of the tree. I'm doing half of it, and usually about 3 or 4, well, I would say 4 or 5 of the bands of plastic or lines of plastic. That'll get you to about a 1/4 inch thickness on your tree trunk, and that's about that's a foot around for your the base of your tree. So that's kind of what I was going with for most of them, but I did different size trunks. You can do fat trunks and skinny trunks, but they always look cool. You can see the little rough sketch that I made that I'm using. That's about 12 inches tall, and the trunk is about a 1/4 inch or maybe a little bigger than what's on the paper. That's just to give me an idea. I've done different sizes and shapes, and they always look good, but then it has wax paper over top of it, so I'm kind of going right on the wax paper. So I use the same sketch to do like I don't know how many trees, 4 or 5 trees at least. And here's a different angle. Problem with the black plastic is that it's hard to see on the video. So I did another tree with the ABS plastic, this tan that came with the pen, and I'll have some video of that at the end of this. You can see it a little better. And the ABS plastic, I wasn't used to using it because this other PLA plastic, I like it a little better. But the ABS plastic was, it looked really bad when I finished doing the plastic part of it. And then after I added some paint to it, and I'll show you how I do that. After you add the paint to it, it'll look good too. I've really been impressed with how good these trees look. I'm amazed, and it's like really easy to do. So it's not like it's not a talent as much as a technique. And you do these, you kind of follow this technique, and you'll have some good looking trees. So at this point, I've got most of that's pretty much all of it's flat on the wax paper. I haven't really built up any of this side yet. So now I'm adding on top of plastic that's already there, giving it some raised up thickness. And one of the little tricks I learned was when you're at the end of the drawing a line with the plastic, you lift it up and you can make one standing up. That's an easy way to add a whole bunch of branches to your tree, and it's really simple. There's things I picked up just doing these trees because I didn't really know how to do anything else with this 3D pen. I tried to make some roll bars for a little car for the slot car track, and it was pretty much a fail. I was kind of getting discouraged with it and watching YouTube videos. I saw someone else make a plastic tree that was just a plastic tree. Not like a model, but just plastic. They had plastic, used green plastic for the leaves and stuff. But it gave me an idea about doing a trunk for trees for the layout, and boy, it works out really good. I have to hurry up and get this video edited so I can make some more trees. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. We'll go 5 times fast forward. But on this part, all I'm doing is adding thickness to this side of the tree. So from where the paper is, I'm just coming up and laying ink, or I keep saying ink because it's a pen, but laying down plastic over top of what's already on the paper to make it have some thickness. The more you use it, the easier it gets. And I'm telling you, I still don't know all the stuff that this thing can do. If you do models and stuff, this is a great thing to have. So I'm finishing up adding the thickness to this side of the tree. And another thing about these branches, like some of the trees I didn't do these like this. I didn't figure out how to do this until after I had done some of the trees. They're kind of cool, but they're also kind of a pain. Because after you pull it up off of the wax paper like that, I have to do stuff on the other side, make the other side, see how it's flat on that side. And we've just got one side with some texture and thickness. So now you have to add thickness to this side. And that's kind of makes it a little more difficult when you have all those branches sticking off the other side like that, as you can see. So when I did the other trees without those branches, they look good too. But they are kind of cool having those. Gives you a whole bunch of branches. So now I'm adding thickness to the other side, and basically making it so that it's kind of rounded So it's like a tree shape just by adding lines of plastic over top of the other plastic. So I'm going to speed this up while I add thickness to this side of it. Flat side that was against the wax paper, adding thickness and bark to it. I did want to show you one little technique that I picked up after I had already done some. But you can kind of skip by touching the pen in different places. You can draw a line of plastic, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Get the plastic started, then you lift up and you can pull it over and then touch it down where you want it to stop. So that's just another technique that works to add thickness to one side or the other. You can see there it's going a little faster because I've got to speed it up on the video. The whole part of this takes about less than 20 minutes to get this much done. Of course, I sped it up on the video so you won't have that much time here, but just if you're wondering how long this took, this part takes about 20 minutes or a little less than 20 minutes. If you compare this to wire armature trees, you've got all the wires together at this point. Take a look at this. See the bark definition. And then I'll show you what I did to treat it to make it look even more like bark. That's pretty good though. That's pretty good like that. Have to trim up those branches and stuff too. One of the things I like about making my own trees is that I put roots on them. I do this with the wire armature trees also. This is how I do it with the 3D pen. Just pretty much stand up the tree and trace out some roots. And sometimes I don't make them big enough, and sometimes I make them too big. So I try different things to get these trees to stand up on their own. That way I can move them around on the layout. And I don't waste any trees, so if the layout goes away, I still got my trees. So this is how I do this. Just kind of make them out like that. Then here's something that's interesting that you do with the plastic. Oh look, my roots need some adjustment. So with the plastic, all you have to do is heat it up a little bit, and then you can bend it the way that you want. So I'm just using a lighter and not holding it so that it catches on fire, but just heating it up. You can use other things to whatever you want to heat it up with. A lighter works, or a candle. So now I adjusted my roots and it stands up. But to move the branches around, see all the branches are flat. So I'll heat up the trunk a little bit where I want to bend it. And then after it's warmed up, you can just twist it around the way you want it. And then you hold it until it cools. So it doesn't get too hot that you can't touch it. I mean, it could, but when it gets that hot, it becomes like really soft. So you just want to heat it up a little bit. You can see how much I'm doing that with the lighter. And then you bend it around and hold it how you want it. So then you shape your branches on the tree how you want. So here's where we are. You see the lines of plastic end up being the bark of the tree. Now it doesn't look real good yet, but that still looks pretty good. Some of the first ones I did, I used some latex paint on them. I had tan latex paint. It was kind of thick, and it worked real well. but this is the best. I like this the best. I use Mod Podge, where you can just use PVA glue, thin down. I think I might have thinned down the Mod Podge a little bit. And wood ashes. Just regular wood ashes from fireplace, or if you go camping, from a campfire. And then I take the wood ashes and sift them out so that they're nice and fine. Just use like one of these Dollar Tree type of sifters so that I'm just left with a nice ash powder, I guess. Using a cheap, stiff, bristled brush, I put the Mod Podge or the thinned PVA glue on the tree branches. Now I use Mod Podge because it's just really convenient, and make sure if you're going to use Mod Podge, you want the matte finish for doing models for the layout. Probably it would be cheaper to use PVA glue thin down, but Mod Podge is just convenient. I use it for all types of stuff for the scenery. So I put it on as fast as I can and kind of just slop it on. You don't have to be neat about it. You just want to get it wet with paint or wet with the glue. After I get a section done or wet with the glue, I'll sprinkle ashes over top of it. Use a little catch pan or something to catch the ashes as they fall over top of it, and they'll stick to the glue. They'll look kind of fuzzy at first, but I just do this and then let it dry. Now the reason I only do sections at a time is because the glue will dry before you put the ashes on, and this just helps it to cover better. I could probably do the whole thing, but I just do sections and then cover them with the ashes while they're still wet. This is what you're left with: a sleepy cat and a sweet looking tree trunk. Now, I didn't do the video for putting the foliage on. Check out the wire armature tree video I made, and that has how I did the foliage. I kind of described that in the introduction too. This is what you got, and some of that's kind of fuzzy and it'll knock off after the glue dries. Up to this point, I'd made about 10 trees with the PLA plastic from that big spool I had. This is ABS plastic that came with the 3D pen. You can see to my left hand there's two more. Those are sample pieces of ABS plastic. The ABS plastic has different qualities and behaves a little bit differently than the PLA plastic. So I was really just using the ABS plastic because it was tan, and I thought you'd be able to see better on the video, like this part. But like it didn't quite stick to the wax paper the way that the PLA plastic did, and it ended up, when I finished this part of the plastic, putting the plastic on the tree, I was thinking it was a waste. I wasn't going to be able to use it. So that's why I wanted to make sure to include this part in the videos, because this tree, as far as I was concerned, I didn't think it came out very good. But after I did the treatment on it with the putting Mod Podge and some texture on it, it ended up looking really good. So that's why I made sure to include it. You see how it didn't stay to the paper, the wax paper, like the PLA did. So I was really having a tough time with it, but pretty much did it the same way as the PLA plastic in the previous clip. And it didn't end up looking as good, I didn't think. Instead of showing you all this, me wrestling with this thing, I'm going to show you what it looked like afterwards. At this point, I was discouraged. I didn't think this looked good at all. Thought I would go ahead and try to put the treatment on there and see if it looked better, but I was thinking this part of the video was going to be edited out. Then it ended up looking really good, and I had to include it so that you could see that even if it doesn't look good beforehand, it's still, they come out looking, well, you'll see. Since this tree was light tan color, I wanted to use something darker when I did my little treatment onto it. So I always use different stuff, whatever I can find to use for scenery. So this stuff is really rusted little iron pieces. This is the magic stuff that's in the hand warmers that makes the hand warmers get hot. It's actually iron and it rusts, which makes heat. So I've used that for different things in scenery and stuff. But you have to be careful because it's iron, so I don't use it around the tracks or anything. So I'm going to just use the Mod Podge and smear some Mod Podge on here, and then I'll pour the dark brown texture onto it. So I'm going to speed this up because I already did this in the other part, the wood ash. So this is what that tree looks like on the layout with the foliage on it. And you can see that this tree next to it, I used the same stuff, the hand warmer stuff for the texture on this tree. And then this tree on this side, actually these two trees, I used the wood ash on them. So you can see the difference. This was the ABS plastic one, and the one that I thought wasn't going to turn out very well. And it ended up looking pretty good. I've been really tickled with how these came out. Wanted to show you a couple more things. Now, it helps me to have something to trace, and I was looking for more ideas, and I wanted to do some different types of trees. So the fine leaf foliage that I use for the foliage on it, which I think is really nice. I recommend it. I like this stuff. But it comes with a free sample bendable tree armature. So I took a picture of it and then I printed it, and I'm tracing it with the 3D pen. The free sample armature is good for like a HO scale or N scale, but it wasn't big enough for O gauge. So I printed this so that it's about 50 feet tall, and then made the trunk, added some trunk on the bottom so it's a little bit taller and it'll look better on the O scale. So after it's all outlined, you don't have to fill it all in with plastic. Instead, you can add thickness to it by using this technique. I slowed down how fast the plastic came out, and then you go back and forth to the edges, and that'll add a little thickness to the middle of the tree. As you crisscross back and forth between the two edges, the hot plastic coming out sticks to the edges so that it becomes one piece and it builds up the center at the same time. So for the main part of the trunk that's going to be even fatter, I'll do crisscrosses that are a little closer together and add a little more thickness to the middle of it. And you just go back and forth. Some of them you won't have to really zigzag across because, you know, 1 or 2 lines of plastic will make it thick enough. So you kind of end up with a skeleton of a tree trunk. And then you just have to put the skin on, which is the bark, and do that by adding lines of plastic. By just touching the plastic, lifting up and pulling, you can do longer lines, and then it still sticks to the plastic that's already there, and you just keep going back and forth until you have it all covered with lines of plastic, which will then be the bark. I didn't video making the entire tree. I just wanted to show you this technique. So after you do this side, then it's kind of like the way that I do the other trees. You take it up off the wax paper and then do the other side. Then did the same kind of treatment on for the texture of the bark. So I made a couple trees with this pattern, and one of them is the dead tree. So I'll show you that in the video clip here at the end. There it is on the right side. So those are the trees that I made with the 3D pen. Hope this was helpful to you. I really like the 3D pen. I don't really know a lot about it yet. I'm learning more, but I'm really liking it. So if I wasn't able to do anything else with it but only make the trees, I think the 3D pen will be worth it. So the one I have, the Mynt3d pen, is nice. It's done everything it says it would do. So I don't know if it's a good one or not. So if you know about 3D pens, leave a comment. But I've been real happy with how it works. And these tree trunks look really good. Now some of them I used the wood ash, and then also the brown texture from the hand warmers. One thing about the wood ash is if you want it to be a little darker, you can just knock some of the ash off. You can kind of even just rub it with your finger and it'll get a little darker. Also, I've sprayed it with acrylic sealer, and that causes it to darken a little bit. I'm real happy with the trees. Hope this is helpful. I know I watched YouTube videos to see what to do with the 3D pen, so hope this helps, and I'll talk to you later. Be sure to like and subscribe.